Alright, so I finally found the issue after way too long. So quick rundown from where we left off. I was checking compression, they all checked out fine. So I'm thinking, this is weird. All the compression's fine, there's no oil in the coolant, there's no coolant in the oil. I don't understand where the smoke is coming from. It's almost kind of exhausty, oily smelling. And I was talking to Neil, the guy who owns this, and he's like, you know, I had a cyclone who did something kind of similar, and what it ended up being was a warped manifold. So I ended up pulling the exhaust header off and checked the gasket, and I sent him pictures, and I'm like, I mean, you can see a little bit, but it's not enough for the volume of smoke that this thing was creating. And I noticed when I had it up at the garage there and it started absolutely pooping oil all over my concrete, cleaned up pretty nice by the way, that the turbo drain is still leaking, because the shop that put this together, instead of welding on a fitting, they did a bulkhead fitting, and it's just not tight enough and it's weeping. So I was thinking, you know, maybe the turbo drain could be somehow spraying, even though it's not pressurized, maybe somehow it's spraying oil up. And when the header was off, I noticed this. I don't know how well that's gonna come across on video, but this is all wet and caked oil right there. So there's definitely something spraying oil up onto this header. So that just goes back to me thinking, maybe it's this turbo drain here. And I'm looking at it and I'm looking at it, and I'm not really seeing any signs of where it could be coming from. And then I look right there. Now those of you with the keen eye, you already know what that is. That's a dipstick hole with no dipstick in it. Now they were using the truck dipstick hole, which is right there. This one had nothing in it. It was wide open. So what would happen is it would mist out of there onto the header, and that was smoking, the initial smoke. And then once I revved it up, it would shoot out of there right onto the header, and it would just fog the entire engine bay. So thankfully, it's not a head gasket. It's not anything like that. I don't have to pull the engine apart. I was really not wanting to do that. So now I just have to find a plug for it, which I might be able to just get like one of those silicone plugs from the hardware store and make that work. And then I've got to put a bunch more oil in it because I'm sure that it's low. And then at that point, we should be able to just tune it. I did put some fresh plugs in it. It's idling pretty darn good. Still has a little bit of a startup issue, but I think now we'll actually be able to start figuring this thing out. Jesus. Alright, got everything all back together. Seems to be pretty good. Just put some oil in it. I got a couple extra quarts in there just in case anything gets weird and it starts leaking again. And I want to make sure that we can get it back to the house safe. Just double checked the coolant. I need to put a little bit of air in the back tire and the front tire on the passenger side, but aside from that, I think we are finally ready to take the true first drive. I did take it down the road once, but it was smoking so bad and there wasn't enough transmission fluid in it. I think all that's good now, so I think we're just about ready to actually take this thing out on the road. If I was smart, I would take the truck and go get a little bit of gas to put in it, but I think I might try to take this thing to the gas station. If I can't make it, there's plenty of spots to pull off, because I am no stranger to running out of gas, especially in situations like this where it's the first time taking the vehicle out. You think you have enough, you never do. So I'll probably grab a gas can and throw that in the back too, but aside from that, I think we're ready to head out. All right, let's hit the road. It is learning already, so that's good. Seeing a bunch of smoke behind us. Finally in third. The vacuum line for the brakes is doing basically nothing. Yeah, I've got to find a different source for the vacuum line for the brakes. And I think the modulator on this Turbo 400 has the adjuster, so I need to turn that down a little bit. First. Come on. Second. Getting a lot of shit flashing on the dash. It's going crazy, it's not happy. I don't know what that was. It just like totally cut out for a second. This is what really sucks about trying to finish someone else's project. This is probably like some ground issue. I don't have any tools with me, which foolish on my part. But it's like, this is such a gamble. Taking over someone else's project really is just such a nightmare. All right, everything, it's back. Everything cut out for a second, but it's back. I'm definitely gonna leave it running while getting some gas in it, because I don't know if it'll start back up. Because the alternators, I don't know, it's at, well, now it's up to 13 volts. Never a dull moment. Honestly, I never even checked the brake lights and blinkers and stuff, so. Ooh. Alright, I'm gonna try to be quick so it doesn't get super hot. Alright, we're at 212, it's not awful. Alright, put 20 bucks in. Let's get back on the road. We're starting to smoke pretty good. All power just cut out for a second. Power cut out again. I don't know what's going on. Good thing we're on a hill in town. Can you guys hear that turbo spooling? We're at 3,000 RPM. Smoke seems to have cleared up. And we cut out again. We lost everything. I think it's just a ground somewhere. Not really sure. Let's see if it'll fire at me. We don't have enough juice to fire the thing. Oh, something smells kind of burnt. Alright, the plug's still in there. Yeah, something smells a little toasty. I'm not seeing anything really out of place yet. The plug is still there for the oil. But luckily this old guy wasn't too busy, so hopefully he brought a chain. He's not too far away. We're just gonna flat tow it to his place and then try to see what's going on with it. Alright. Just got hooked up. Gonna slowly start limping it back to his place. I'm pretty sure whatever it is something with the chassis harness. I don't know if it's something with the battery, maybe. I don't really know. But I do know that I'm very frustrated with this thing. This was supposed to be make a drive shaft or get a drive shaft made, make an exhaust system because he wanted to go for turbo to the stock exhaust and get it running. Everything else was supposed to be fine. We'll get back to his house, look things over a little bit, and then probably pick the video up there. Alright, just got back here. He said the same thing I did. Sounds like a ground. But I did just notice the wire for the fan to the relay, this yellow one, started melting. Might have to put them on separate circuits, I guess. Alright.
Yeah, I'd say she's melting to it.
Yeah. Pops found the issue. The battery junction box there fell down and was resting on the header, bouncing off it. So that is most likely why it was cutting out and everything. And then the oil line for the turbo was also resting on this fucking header and made a huge ass mess. Yeah, it's one thing that sucked about getting rid of the stock alternator brackets, because that's where that bolted.
Well, at least you know what the problem is.
Alright, we did end up making it back to my place with the Trailblazer. I am going to have to replace this oil line. Luckily it's all easy to get to. I'm not entirely sure why they tapped into the oil feed from there instead of the usual spot back there, but I think I'm going to get a 90 fitting to come off that so that it can come almost straight up. And I mean, it's kinked anyway. I don't know how well you can see, but it's kinked down there. And then this positive cable, it was, I don't know if it was just the heat or what, melted the plastic zip tie and it just fell into the header, which is always something you look for. It's always something you hope to accomplish someday whenever you're putting together a vehicle. You hope that you can be the guy to melt the positive cable against the header. Luckily, all that seems to be fixed. All the electrical seemed to be working just fine after that was, you know, removed. So I got to fix that oil line. I do want to make a whole new battery cable to go to the starter, go to the alternator and everything. I'm hoping there's something weird with the oil pressure. It's not as high as I would like it to be. I'm hoping that it's just low, but I topped it off before I left trying to drive it over to my dad's, and then it was topped off before bringing it back here, and bringing it back here, it wasn't leaking oil and it was still getting really low oil pressure. So, but aside from that and just a few other little odds and ends, which again is why, like, as soon as I got it running, I didn't want to give it back to Neil and be like, hey, here you go. I told him I wanted to drive it around a bunch and try to find all the issues with it before giving it back to him. But at least we're getting things figured out, which is always good. We're moving forward. So, but that's probably gonna do it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing and clicking that bell. We'll see you in the next one.